I'm here in Cyprus with Ara Bedrossian, who was born in Cyprus but spent a lot of his life in the UK, and now he's back in Cyprus, and he's going to tell us all about himself. So to you now.
Thank you. I was born in Cyprus, in Nicosia in 1967. In 1974, due to the invasion, my parents decided we'll go back to England. My father at that time, he was working as an agent for Dunlop and Penn, which were part of his tennis background, because my father was a very, very famous tennis player of Cyprus. He was like 25 to 30 years, he was champion of Cyprus, he was always at the top. My mother, she's a hairdresser, she had a very, very honourable name in Cyprus as a hairdresser, and it was just me and my brother at that time, so we went to the camps in Dikelia. We stayed there for a couple of weeks, and from there we travelled to Athens, and from Athens went to London. Went to a school we moved to Richmond. We were living in Richmond, Surrey for many, many, many years. Went to a school there, Great Court School, and Vineyard, primary and secondary schools. My football started to take off when I was about 7, 8 years old. We joined the local team, which this guy, Ray Piercy, which I still remember his name and that. He was running like a couple of teams at that time, like boys teams and that. Really, really high level teams and that in Surrey. And we'll be playing in the Richmond Surrey League. And yeah, that's where all my football career started from. I got scouted a few times when I was younger, but things didn't work out. And then around 14, 15 years old, I joined a football combination team at that time called Kingstonian, which was just down the road from us in Richmond at that time. And I was playing in the reserves. Turned 16, finished school, didn't really come out with any GCSEs and O-levels or anything. Went to Richmond College for a year. I think that was the start of my maturity. I was seeing a lot of things happening in my football at that time, and I was asked by John Pratt, who was the technical director at Tottenham at that time, to go and do a few training sessions at Tottenham. In the meantime, I was working as a waiter in the Olympia Kensington exhibition hall. It was good money, I was making money, I felt really good making money, and during the weekends I'd just go and play football for two teams, Saturday and Sunday leagues. Obviously one was Kingstonians, and at that time I was getting slowly recognised by the first team coach, and was getting some games in the first team. Then I bumped into a guy called Ray Harford. He was very famous at that time. He played for Luton Town. Luton Town were at that time in the old First Division, which is now the Premier League. And I asked him if I could have a trial at Luton, and he said, yeah, no problem. And he'd sort it out for me. 2-3 days later, actually, my brother and I had decided to come to Cyprus on a holiday for a month with my little sister at that time. And while out here, we went to see my mum's sister, my auntie in Larnaca. Bumped into some cousins and that, and they heard about my football career and that in England. And they asked me if I wanted to go and have a tryout at EBA, because EBA had a director who was Armenian, which obviously I'm Armenian, so that helps me. So I went for a trial for 3 days. They wanted to sign me, they offered me a contract. Obviously I wasn't so sure at that time. The last couple of days of that holiday was spent in Nicosia, and just by accident bumped into a friend of my father's, who was a tennis friend of my father's, Christos Christofidis. He had a shop downtown selling Lacoste wear and things like that. It was called His Clothes. He asked me, what do I do? I told him I play football, and he said, oh, why don't I go training that same day with Apoel? I said, okay, no problem. So I went training that day, returned. Apoel said they'll call my father while I was back in England. They actually did. They called my father, so did EBA. But the offer was too tempting, and I had to take it when Apoel made me an offer to come back to Cyprus and sign a 1-year contract. That 1-year contract became a 7-year stay for me. In the meantime, I won the league with Apoel 3 times. Played for the U21 national team and the senior national team in World Cup qualifiers, and my most memorable game was against Holland, the famous Dutch team that won the 1988 European Championship title. Unfortunately, some things surrounding my life at that time didn't really help me the way I was growing and developing as a player. I was living alone a lot, so I used to go out quite a bit, and that I wasn't much of I never used to drink or smoke, but just going out and that wasn't really helping me. So it came to the last season at Apoel. It was 91-92. We just won the league. I wasn't seeing eye to eye with the manager. And I had an agent at that time who was working for me, and he was going to take me to Ipswich, who the old goalkeeper of Queen's Park Rangers and West Ham, Phil Parks, was like the director at that time and the scouter. But at the same time, he was also scouting for QPR, and because he found out I was a London boy, he asked me if I was more interested in going to QPR, and I said, yeah, of course I am. And so I went along to QPR, did 2 weeks of training, and they took me on just as a non-contract player. So I was there for about 6-7 months. Unfortunately, it took about 5 months to get my blue card from the UEFA, because Apoel were making it difficult for me to play there. So I was just playing friendly games. I couldn't play any reserve games or first team games. I was training with the reserves, then I quickly went into the first team, did some training sessions there. Jerry Francis, who was the manager at that time, must have been quite fond of me, because he called me into his office and he said, what am I looking for? And I said, I'm looking to stay in England, I'm on a contract, and this and that. And unfortunately, just Apoel were asking for a little bit too much money at that time. But Ray Wilkins, who was the captain of QPR at the time, he was very, very good friends with Ray Lewington, who was down at Fulham, who were at that time in the Championship. And he asked me to go along there. Ray saw me, Ray came and watched me play at QPR. So did 3-4 other teams as well. Glenn Roeder, who was the manager of Gillingham at the time, he asked me to go there as well. And I decided to go to Fulham because it's close to my parents' house and everything. So I went to Fulham, did a couple of training sessions there, and they took me on for 2 months loan period from QPR. That loan period turned out to be a very successful period for me, because it brought in other clubs who were interested in me. At that time, 2 Premier League clubs, who were Middlesbrough and Birmingham City. So I went on a trial to Birmingham City, and they were very, very fond of me. Unfortunately, I had a very bad injury, and I was out for 5 weeks, and I didn't go back again. But in that meantime, I did have a chance to go to Middlesbrough, and I went to Middlesbrough. And things were going very well for me there at the time, and then the management changed, and Brian Robson came in. And again, things weren't going well for me there. I wasn't too happy. Luckily, I got a call from Ray Lewington, who was at Fulham at the time, and they were saying that everyone wanted me back there. So I had to think about myself and my well-being and my happiness, and I was always happy at Fulham. So picked my bag up, went back down to London, did another two seasons at Fulham. And then I found myself coming back to Cyprus, where Apoel had made me an offer to come back to Cyprus for 3 years. Unfortunately, that didn't go as planned, and I was on loan to Olympiacos Nicosia for a year, which I actually really, really enjoyed. Unfortunately, they had a lot of financial problems, so we weren't really getting paid frequently, but yeah, I got used to that anyway, living in Cyprus, playing football. And found myself now 29, 30 years old, and I'm joining like smaller teams and that, went and played 2 years at Derinia in the first division, went to a team called Ethnikos Ashas for a year. We won the league in the second division, came up into the first. Unfortunately, we went down the next season. Then I joined a team called Thoi Lagadamia, where I really, really enjoyed myself under a very, very experienced footballer, ex-footballer and a coach. His name was Nedim Dudic. He was one of the most talented footballers who ever came to Cyprus. He's a Bosnian Serbian. And I was so happy, because those last 2-3 years, I just wanted to finish on a high. I wasn't really bothered about making money at that time. It was very, very low salary at that time. And I think it was one of the most enjoyable times that I've ever had. I started off as a winger when I was little. I went into midfield, and in the latter stages of my life, I played as a right back, and I think that's why I enjoyed it so much, because the kind of player I was, the quality I had. As a right back, everything just came normal to me, natural, and it was much more easier for me. And I did, in the latter stages of my life, learn to defend as well, which I wasn't very good at when I was growing up. So my career came to an end at 35 years old, and I started working at the Nike international shop in downtown. While being there, the owner's daughter, she knew me from the day I arrived to Cyprus, the owner was George Iliadis. He was the reason how I came to Cyprus. He was the vice chairman of Apoel in 1985 when I came. His daughter was Aliki, an amazing person, who unfortunately we lost her a couple of years ago due to cancer. And she was the reason why I became a coach. She was on the board of the Apoel academies. She asked me if I was interested. They wanted to open up an Apoel school of excellence and use me as their head coach there. And I was very excited. It was I was 35, 36 at that time, 37. Needed something to keep me in football. So I took that position up. And from there, it's just been like, everything's been going forward for me in my life. I started my own academy at that time as well, just on a Thursday and a Saturday, which that became full time. And then out of the blue, I had Arsenal approached me to bring Arsenal to Cyprus, which already was in Paphos at that time. And they wanted to have a school in Nicosia, so they came up to me. We had the Arsenal academies in Nicosia. Within 2-3 years, I became the technical director of Arsenal of South East Europe, where I was scouting kids and everything. And due to these scouting missions that I used to go on, I scouted 4 to 5 players who went to scholarships in Greece. We had a scholarship school in Greece where they would literally just be residing there and training 5-6 hours a day with Arsenal coaches from England. I was doing that for about 10-11 years, and then 4 years ago I thought I had the call of my life. I had the call to take up a position as technical director of Liverpool International Academies in Cyprus at the famous Gasibi Stadium. And by taking that position, I don't know if it was more of a prestige position or whatever it was, things started really well. The first year we had about 285 kids. The second year we went up to 300, 320, so things were going well, but unfortunately I wasn't feeling happy there. I had some health issues there as well due to the work I was doing. There was a lot of pressure there, and in the end we came to a mutual agreement that I would stop this year. In the meantime, while being at Arsenal as well, I was offered a position at the grammar school, an amazing school, which my boys go there as well. And 5-6 years ago, in 2016 actually, we opened up our first Arsenal athletic scholarship system there, where I would be scouting players who would be at the grammar school or would want to come to the grammar school. I'd be watching them, do some tryouts for them, and I'd be handpicking them and to bring them to the school. And these were players of very, very high caliber, playing in the top teams in Cyprus, some of them in the national teams. And that went for 5-6 years as well. Unfortunately, leaving Liverpool International Academy meant I had to lose my position there, which I wasn't very happy about, but I've come to live with that now, and got my boys there as well. One of my little boys is a footballer. My eldest boy plays handball, 14 and 12 years old. Yeah, and so my parents are they live in England. My brother, my sister, they're all in London. My parents are living in Kingston. My sister lives in Chelsea. My brother lives in Bush. He's a chartered accountant. He's now freelance. My sister, she does everything. She's an actress. She writes little short movies as well. She's done a bit of modelling in her life. My mother, she stopped being a hairdresser many years ago. My father, you know, he likes going down the betting shop and you know, playing on his little horses and that. He'll never forgive me for saying that. But I absolutely adore my parents. I miss my family a lot. And just last month, I was there. I went to see them. And my girlfriend Caroline, who's there as well. We've been together for 8 years. And
do you mean, so it looks to me you miss England?
You know, if I could, yeah, I would go back to England right now and reside there again and start my own business there through football or whatever, you know, maybe join a club and take over a coaching position or something from outside as a recruitment officer and that, or a scouter. I've got all the experience in that. But I think it's time for me just to, like, you know, I've now opened up my own academy with my partner Jose Vieira. He's an ex-footballer from Portugal, played for Apoel and Maritimo. But you know, it's something that, you know, I'm very passionate about. We've had a really good start. We started last week and we had a really good start. A lot of kids are coming. A really good bunch of parents. We've got a really good environment there. We're at the Ether and Gomi Fields. It's only 2 pitches, but we're only doing, you know, something more quality and not about quantity now. And it's 4 years old to 11 years old. The academy is called Masterclass Academy. And we are now going to start cooperating with Mr. Chris Sofroniou's position, which is of the Ennis Morpho. We're going to start cooperating together. And hopefully it'll be a very healthy and something very good for the future. Obviously my mind is very much 100% on the academy at the moment. I want to try to mature the academy. I want to give these kids the service that, you know, I've been giving for the last 23 years as a coach, technical director, scouter, as a father. In my time at Arsenal, I've produced a player who's now at Atletico Madrid. His name is Ilias Kostis. He came to us around 6 years old. He left us around 14. Went to Apoel for a year and a half. And while in the national team of the U15s, he got scouted. And we had other kids as well who obviously joined Apoel, Olympiacos. We had another boy who went to Italy. He stayed there for 4 years. He was at the Novaro camps. His name is Alex Pascalidis. He's come back now. Unfortunately, things haven't turned out to be as kind for him as they should have. But I'm sure he'll find his feet very soon.
On that note, you've had an interesting past or two. I think a lot of people are going to find this very interesting.
Thank you.
And well, I wish you continued success, Ara, and thank you for giving us your time so that we can listen to your story. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
Cheers, Ara. Thanks.
Bye.